The Caribbean Sea was calm that morning, the kind of eerie silence that made fishermen along Venezuela's northern coast exchange nervous glances. Just a few miles offshore, a Venezuelan patrol boat named Orinoco cruised slowly through the open waters. On board, Lieutenant Carlos Mendoza scanned the horizon with tired eyes. It was supposed to be a routine surveillance shift, watching for illegal fishing boats or smuggling activity. But today, something felt off. "Nothing unusual, sir," reported Ensign Rojas, checking the radar screen. Carlos nodded, but a strange uneasiness weighed on his chest. Then, just as he turned to grab his coffee, the ocean ahead of them began to ripple in an unnatural pattern. Rojas squinted. "Sir, radar is picking up something large." Before anyone could react, a massive, dark steel structure erupted through the surface with a violent blast of seawater. The crew froze. Painted in bold white letters on its sail tower were the unmistakable words, USS Montana, United States Navy. A U.S. Navy submarine had surfaced, right at the edge of Venezuelan territorial waters. "What the hell is it doing here?" Rojas stammered. Carlos didn't answer. He couldn't. His heart thundered as he grabbed the binoculars. The submarine towered over the waves like an uninvited giant, water still streaming off its hull. There was no visible crew yet, just the silent, intimidating machine breaking the peaceful morning. "This is Lieutenant Mendoza of the Venezuelan Navy," he said into the radio, his voice shaking more than he wanted to admit. "Identify your purpose immediately." Static. The silence that followed was more unsettling than any threat. On shore, reports began flooding local military channels. Civilians spotted the emerging submarine from the beaches of La Guaira. Videos hit social media instantly, captions screaming, "American submarine spotted near Venezuela. What's happening?" Back on the Orinoco, the tension climbed with every second of unanswered radio calls. Carlos exhaled slowly. And then, a voice finally came through. "This is Commander James Walker of the United States Navy," the voice finally responded, calm but firm. "We are experiencing a navigation malfunction and require temporary surface time for diagnostics." Carlos exchanged a doubtful glance with Rojas. A navigation malfunction? From a state-of-the-art American submarine? It didn't add up. "Commander Walker," Carlos replied, trying to sound authoritative, "you are dangerously close to Venezuelan territorial waters. State your exact intentions." A pause. Too long to be casual. "Lieutenant, we are not seeking conflict. We will remain surfaced briefly," the voice returned, still calm, but now sharper. Rojas whispered, "Sir, this feels deliberate." Before Carlos could respond, more vessels began appearing on the radar. Venezuelan naval reinforcements were heading their way. The situation was escalating fast. Civilians were already gathering along the coast, filming with their phones, narrating dramatic theories. News outlets started pushing headlines, "U.S. submarine provokes Venezuela?" Carlos's radio crackled again, but this time it wasn't the Americans. It was command headquarters. "Mendoza, do not engage," came the strict order. "Maintain visual contact only. Await instructions." As the Orinoco maintained its cautious distance, the hatch of the submarine finally opened. A group of U.S. Navy officers emerged, scanning the area. One of them lifted binoculars, directly toward Carlos's ship. It felt like a silent standoff. Suddenly, a small drone buzzed overhead, flying dangerously close to the submarine's tower. Carlos clenched his teeth. Was it Venezuelan? Civilian? Or something else? The submarine officers seemed to react instantly, shouting to each other before one of them disappeared back inside. "Sir, are they preparing to dive again?" Rojas asked. "No," Carlos muttered. "They're reacting to something, or someone." Back at Command HQ, senior military officials argued behind closed doors. Some believed it was a test of Venezuela's response readiness. Others suspected a covert mission gone wrong. Carlos kept watching, heart pounding. Something about this wasn't just a malfunction. Something bigger was unfolding beneath the surface, literally. The drone kept circling overhead, dipping lower with each pass. Carlos adjusted his binoculars. Its design didn't match the Venezuelan models he was familiar with. This wasn't local. Whoever launched it was watching both sides. Suddenly, the submarine's crew signaled frantically. One officer pointed directly at the drone while another raised what looked like a signal flare gun, not to shoot, but to warn. "They're trying to scare it off," Rojas said. Before that could happen, the drone abruptly changed direction and sped toward the coast, vanishing behind a rocky outcrop. Carlos's instinct screamed. That drone wasn't here by accident, he said quietly. Moments later, the radio came alive once more, this time from Venezuelan command. Mendoza, new intel suggests an unidentified surveillance drone was operating in the vicinity. You are to observe and report. Do not provoke. Carlos's grip tightened on the radio. Surveillance drone. Unidentified. This situation was now bigger than just a foreign submarine. Meanwhile, Commander Walker's voice returned, slightly more guarded. Lieutenant Mendoza, we are conducting internal checks. We expect to submerge shortly. Carlos responded, understood, but be advised, your presence has triggered national concern. Any sudden moves may be misinterpreted. Up on the sub's conning tower, the officers now seemed tense, scanning the skies more than the nearby patrol boat. One of them checked a handheld device repeatedly, almost as if tracking something. Rojas shifted uneasily. Sir, what if they weren't the ones being provocative? What if someone wanted them to surface? Carlos didn't answer. But the possibility was chilling. Along the Venezuelan coastline, crowds grew larger. TV reporters set up live feeds, narrating every wave that hit the submarine's hull. Online, theories exploded. Some claimed it was the beginning of war, others said the submarine was conducting a secret rescue, or chasing a foreign threat. Inside the Orinoco's cabin, the tension had turned into silence. Carlos finally spoke. Rojas, keep a close eye on that shoreline. I have a feeling this story isn't about the submarine. Because sometimes, he realized, the loudest distraction hides the quietest threat. And something unseen was still out there. Watching. Waiting. The air felt heavier as the minutes passed. Then, a sudden alert flashed on the Orinoco's radar, an unidentified vessel approaching at high speed from deeper international waters. Smaller than a naval craft, larger than a fishing boat. Sir, target incoming at 40 knots. Rojas shouted. Carlos's pulse spiked. Lock visual. Don't engage. The submarine crew noticed it too. One officer urgently signaled toward the horizon before rushing below deck. Commander Walker's voice came back on radio, now tense. Lieutenant Mendoza, we request you maintain safe distance. Unknown vessel approaching our position. Mendoza hesitated. Was this vessel linked to the drone? Was it hostile? Or was it here for the submarine? The mysterious craft got closer, skimming the water like it knew exactly where to go. No flags. No radio ID. Just purpose. Suddenly, the submarine's deck team vanished below, and the hatch slammed shut. They're going under, Rojas muttered. Within seconds, the massive USS Montana began to submerge, water swallowing it as alarms blared faintly in the distance. The unknown vessel slowed, circling the last visible trace of the submarine like a predator searching for its target. Then, just as suddenly, it veered away and disappeared into open waters without a word or signal. The sea returned to silence. No shots fired. No confrontation. Just unanswered questions left floating like shadows on the waves. Carlos released a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Headquarters radioed back, the submarine has left Venezuelan waters. Continue patrol. Monitor for further unidentified activity. But for Carlos, the incident wasn't over. Not really. Later that evening, footage of the event dominated US and Venezuelan news cycles. Analysts debated whether it was a navigational accident, a covert test, or even a third-party provocation designed to trigger international tension. No official explanation was ever confirmed. As the sun set, Carlos stood on deck, staring at the darkening horizon. He whispered, they didn't surface because they were lost. They surfaced because someone forced them into the open. Somewhere out there, beneath the ocean's surface, forces unknown were still moving. And the next time they surfaced, the world might not be ready.